All right, today we are going to do a new little animation we're calling the Liquid DeSoto animation. So what we're going to do here is we'll create a little social media post for the DeSoto swim team. It's just going to have some text, and we'll do a little bit of a liquid effect to it. So we're not going to utilize school colors for this so much today, as we are utilizing like the liquid, making it look a little bit more like water and things like that. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start with a new composition that is 1920 by 1080. We're going to go about 10 seconds. We're going to keep the background color as black. I'm going to name this composition to be DeSoto Swim. Once I click OK, you can see I have my composition in my project window over here. You can see my composition right here. Down in my timeline, I have nothing. We're going to go ahead and grab my text or my type tool here, and we're going to type in the word DeSoto. We're going to move this a little bit. Let's align this to the middle of my composition. We're going to grab my type tool again. We're going to create a new one that just says swim. Let's do swim and dive. And let's make this text quite a bit smaller. It looks like I don't know how to spell dive there, so let's try again. So there we go. I've got DeSoto swim and dive. I've kind of varied the size here. So this isn't so much, or it doesn't always have to be the same size. Trying to add a little bit of like hierarchy here so that it doesn't look the same and really blend in all the time. So kind of making it look a little bit nicer if I wanted to, which actually I probably will go ahead and do. I'm going to increase the size of DeSoto here so that it stretches to be the exact same size or width as swim and dive. So let me realign this. We can take a look. That looks lots better. There we go. So that's the first thing we need to do. And this composition is now done. So we're going to work with nested compositions today. I'm going to go ahead and start by creating a new composition, or another new composition here, that this time we're going to call liquid text. It's going to be the exact same thing with everything else. So we have 1920 by 1080, 10 seconds, a black background. Looks good. Now, when I do that, you can see that my all my text goes away. You should see that my timeline down here is now blank. If I click on the word DeSoto Swim, you can see the preview up here for that composition. If I double click it, it opens. So I want to make sure that I have the liquid text open. By just clicking on it, it does not open that composition. I need to double click to open this composition. I can tell that it's the liquid text composition because up here it says composition, liquid text. It also says liquid text right here. If I had the DeSoto Swim one open, it would say DeSoto Swim and composition DeSoto Swim. So leaving the liquid text one open, we're actually going to click and drag the DeSoto Swim one down into our timeline here. So now we have a composition DeSoto Swim down on our timeline. The reason we do this is because we had two type layers before, and we want all of this text to be in one type layer. Yes, we could probably group this together, or we could have created it all in the same layer and just hit enter and resize, but sometimes that doesn't always work. So this is something that we can just create a new composition and pull that original composition into the new one. So we're nesting this. Now that I've dragged this down, you can also see that I have liquid text, which is the composition I'm working with, but underneath that, this is kind of like the path now. So I also have the DeSoto Swim one. So I can click on this to edit the DeSoto Swim and go back to edit the liquid text. So this is kind of like the hierarchy window here. So I have my main composition, and then I have a composition within my composition that I can go in and edit and things like that. So staying in liquid text here, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to create a new shape layer. So we're going to use our pen tool for this today. I'm going to click and click and click and click and click. So now I have a nice little rectangle here. I'm going to choose, and we're going to keep that dark color today. Through today, we're going to use, or for this first one, we're going to use 3 different colors. So Essentially what we're going to do is add just a little bit of black each time. We're going to try to add 20% for each step. So this is called a step gradient. So we have our main color that we're going to work with here today, which is roughly this color here, some light blue. And then I'm going to come down one step that's about 20%. I'm estimating. I didn't type anything in. It's just an estimation. And then I would go another 20% to get something even darker. I'm going to hit cancel for now because this is the dark color for me that I'm going to work with. So pick a blue that's, find that third step. So for me, this is step number 3. Okay. So I'm starting with something dark. And now we're going to do something new using the effects and presets folder over here. So we're going to start typing in wave warp. And you can see that under the distort folder, I have something called wave warp, and it says 16 next to it. For now, disregard those numbers. It doesn't mean much to us. It's something to do with how everything is compressed. And so we're not going to talk about that in this class. We may get to it eventually, but probably not. So anyway, so wave warp, we're going to click and drag that and drop it onto our shape. And you can see that I now have these little like wiggles, which is great. We also see that we now have a new project or a new window over here called Effect Controls Shape Layer 1. So these are the effects that are on Shape Layer 1. If I clicked back on that DeSoto Swim, you can see Effect Controls DeSoto Swim has nothing. Okay? So it's only to whatever layer you're working on. So with my wave type, we're going to keep it as sine. We're going to change the wave height to 40. And we're going to change the wave width to 400. That looks really nice. So if we hit play, and as I start to build a preview here, you can see that my waves are moving. I didn't create any keyframes. That's because this effect or control or preset is preset. So it already creates the animation for you. So this is kind of nice. Now, this is like a generic little wave. We could go in and change the direction of it. We could change the wave speed. We could change pinning, so you could use this as a flag. But we're going to go ahead and use this as water. I'm going to go ahead and also toggle this layer open and drill down under transform. And I'm going to rotate this about 10 degrees. That looks pretty good. I'm going to make sure that I move this over here, and we're going to move it down away from all of the text for now. We want all the text to show. Okay? We also are going to pull that shape layer below our DeSoto Swim composition there. So now when we kind of watch this, we can still see that it looks more like a pin it flag, but that's okay. So let's go ahead and animate also after we've rotated that a little bit. Let's turn keyframes on for position. And we're going to go about 1 second. So I'm going to zoom in on my timeline here. I'm actually going to go 1 second and 10 frames. And we're going to create a new keyframe. And we're going to just move this text up so that it would cover up all of the text. Obviously, it doesn't because it's behind. But I just want to make sure that I see all of this wave behind the text. Now, you'll see that I stretched this out. So I just resized this so that it covered everything up, which is fine, and it's actually what I should do. Make sure that all of the text will be covered. So just stretch it, do whatever you need to. Now, we have a very linear animation right now. So as it waves, it's going to go straight up. But as we know, water isn't always straight. It's not linear. So about halfway between those two frames, so for me it's 20 frames, I'm going to go ahead and just add another keyframe. Notice I didn't click on the stopwatch, I didn't edit anything over here in the composition, I just added a keyframe. That's it. And so now there's a little keyframe right here in the middle, which is kind of covered up by my anchor point, which is fine. But now you can see that I have handles here. So we're actually just going to drag these handles out. And now, and let's go the other direction actually. This looks good. As I stretch it, you can see those handles stretch, those curves stretch a little bit more. I'm creating a little Bezier curve, which looks really nice. So now, when I watch this, you can see that my waves kind of follow along that motion path, which looks really, really nice. And then it covers up everything. So if we watch that now, we can see that looks really good. Cool. So from here, we want to not have the text show and only show this little like wave once it uses like gets over the top of the text. So that's why we dragged that shape layer down here. We're going to put a track mat on this. If you haven't already, if yours isn't already clicked open, we're going to make sure that we go down to this bottom left corner and we want to expand the transfer controls pane. And that's going to bring up the track mat. And notice under shape layer 1, I have the option for track mat, and we're going to change this to alpha mat DeSoto swim, which means that that shape layer is only going to show up when it's showing like behind that text. And now it's going to turn that composition into a transparent object, and we'll be able to see this shape layer through that text. So as we scrub through, because I don't have a preview built here, you can see as that wave comes up, you can see it start to show. And that's why our text color didn't matter at the beginning, because we were turning that transparent anyway. And so now you can see that I've got a little bit of a preview built. So let's go ahead and watch this. There it is. That looks really nice. Cool. So now we have this nice little animation where it's like a wave that comes up and shows that DeSoto, reveals the DeSoto swim and dive text, which looks really nice. So from here, we're actually going to highlight both of those and Command D to duplicate. While both of those are selected, I'm going to click and drag to move these along my timeline. Notice I did not trim these down. I just clicked and dragged to move them. I'm going to go about 15 frames. That looks pretty good. And now I'm going to click on shape layer 2 and change my fill color, and this is where I'm going to step up one step. So about right here, halfway in between kind of the top where I'm going to choose that main color and where I have my current step, I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Now when we watch this, we can see here comes wave 1, and now with that layering, here comes wave 2. We could go in and under on wave 2, we could change this to something like 35 and 300 instead. And so that's just going to change like that size and not make it so uniform as it goes. So now when we play, we can see, oh, here comes wave number 2. That looks really nice, and it's going to fill up as well. So the last thing we're going to do is go ahead and duplicate that one more time, drag this down the timeline just a little bit more, and you guessed it, we're going to change that fill color to step number 1. Looks really nice. So now when we watch this all the way through, we can see it goes from dark and a little bit lighter and then a little bit lighter to make that third and final step that comes up. This looks really good. This is a good start so far. Go ahead and adjust those if you want to. You can go in and edit some things with your wave height and your wave width. Maybe I go to 45 and 425. That could look really nice. We'll see. That's starting to look good. Yeah, that looks really nice. Cool. So I'm going to go ahead and pause this video. I want you to finish this up, and we're going to make a second video to kind of end things here.